to A Dash of Gratitude. My name is Beth. Today I'm going to share with you a little bit of our family's experience with homeschooling. So a few months ago, I posed a question on my personal Facebook page about homeschool. And I said, I was interested in making a video about homeschooling. And I just said, if you have any questions for a homeschool family, what might they be? And so I'm just going to kind of read through. I printed them off of my computer, and I'm just going to read through them and discuss them as they come. This is going to be a casual video. Before we get into it, let me tell you a little bit more about our family so that you'll understand who it is I'm talking about as I'm explaining our experience. So like I said, my name is Beth, and my husband's name is Brandon. Our oldest daughter is Olivia. She's 19, and she started homeschool in the beginning of her 3rd grade year. She graduated homeschool high school last year, and she's out there making her mark on the world, and we are so proud of her. She's doing good things. She's also a little bit private, so I don't want to share too many details about her. That's why you don't see her very often on the channel. Doesn't really love to be on YouTube, which is fine. Our middle daughter is Serena. She's 11, and we just started 6th grade with Serena. She's never been to a brick and mortar school. She's always homeschooled. Then our youngest is Robbie, and he just started kindergarten, and he too has never been to a school. He's always been home. So that's who we have. Currently, I'm just homeschooling Serena in 6th grade and Robbie in kindergarten. We just started our 11th year of homeschool, and when I think about that fact, I can't even believe it. I mean, really, time just flies so fast. Let's get down into the content of this video. The first question I got was from Jessica, and she said, why? Most of our whys are different, but connected by a common thread. Now, Jessica is a homeschooler as well, so that's a great question. A lot of homeschoolers do get the question, why do you homeschool? So our reasoning for homeschool started out a long time ago, way back in the day. Olivia was in the 2nd grade, and I was pregnant with Serena. I do want to say that we never had a bad experience with Olivia in school. She loved all of her teachers. She had good friends. She was excited about learning. She did really well, made really good grades. She always had fun there. I mean, she did have a bully, and that did contribute to our decision, but it wasn't the main factor. Olivia has always been very independent-minded and very self-driven, very responsible, I mean, even from a tiny child. So in the 2nd grade, she would set her alarm clock in the morning for 6:16. She would wake herself up, get herself dressed, make her breakfast, pack her lunch, and then be ready to go. I had to have her to school at 7:30. And then she would, go to school all day, come home, she'd have homework, we'd do a little snack, she'd have her homework, we would go to karate, come home, finish homework, dinner, bath, and bed every day. We'd try to get her to bed by 8. Sometimes it was 9:30. One night we were sitting to dinner, the 3 of us, Brandon, myself, and Olivia, and she just burst into tears. And Brandon and I looked at each other like, what the heck? Like, this child's she's just always happy. So we were a little concerned. And, once she was able to compose herself and explain for the tears, and she said, Mom, I just don't ever have time to play. And I just knew in my heart, in my gut, that the lifestyle that we were living, and it wasn't anything outrageous. We were simply doing the typical family thing with a kid in school, but it was too much. And I knew that I wanted my child to have a childhood. And that, I told her, I think I told her then something to try to console her, like, let's just try to do better about making sure we get time to play, But I knew that was the very beginning of, I think we're going to homeschool. Going forward from there, Brandon and I talked about it, and we didn't really know anyone who homeschooled. I think I had one friend growing up when I was a child who did homeschool. She lived in a different state, and I didn't even know what that meant, like homeschool. I had no clue as a kid. I had no concept of what that even meant. So I didn't really have anyone to, look to from my past. Well, in my present day at that time, I did know 2 families who homeschooled. I knew them from the YMCA, and they seemed all right, and so I reached out to them. Oh, and there was one family from karate. I reached out to that mom. I went to these 3 moms in particular and I said, hey, we're thinking about homeschooling next year. What does that even mean? How do you do it? Where do I start? Where do I start? I had no idea. And the 3 of them gave me some helpful pointers and sent me in some directions. And I think all 3 of them had very different homeschool styles. But that was okay because I had no idea what I was doing, no idea what direction that I would go. And really, like, my concept, my idea of what homeschool was like a typical school recreated at home. And that's not what it is at all. In addition to wanting my child to have a childhood with play and freedom, I also really wanted to spend more time with her. I was always the mom that hated first day of school because I would miss her so much. I didn't want to send her to school after the summer break. I just wanted to be on summer break forever. So there was that. Also, I just knew that from being a volunteer mom in the classroom, that from everything that I'd read about homeschool, I knew that I could get done schooling at home in a much more efficient and probably better quality than sitting in a classroom full of kids. And like I said before, we never had a bad experience at school. She loved all of her teachers. It was always all good. That one-on-one homeschooling experience is just completely different from a classroom setting. And I'm not saying that's good or bad. It's just different, and it's something that I wanted to look into. Olivia did have a bully. She had the same bully at least 2 years in a row at that school. I can't remember. It might have been 3. And it wasn't anything, you know, scarring for life or anything, but it was just something that bothered her, and you know, nothing was really being done about it. So there was that too. We also wanted more freedom and flexibility for our schedule. We wanted to be able to travel more often whenever we would want to without the school schedule dictating our travel vacation plans. And my husband's work schedule is not the typical work schedule. And so one thing we thought about was, you know, if we homeschool, we can customize our schooling to fit his work schedule a little bit, and therefore he'd get to spend more time with her too. I'm sure there were probably a couple more reasons, but that's the gist of it. And you know, we just decided to give it a try. So how we got started was, I don't even think there was a Facebook group local here for homeschoolers in my city when we started. I was sitting at my at an OBGYN, you know, I was pregnant, I had an appointment, and I was sitting in there, and there was like a local kind of newspaper magazine publication sitting on the table, and I just read it, you know, flipping through, waiting for the doctor, and there was an advertisement for a local homeschool group at a local park, and I was like, oh my gosh. So I wrote down the information and I went. I just showed up. I had no idea, but I went, and our baby Serena had been born by that time, so I showed up with a newborn and a brand new homeschool 3rd grader, and that's how we started to make friends. And I went to that play group every single week. It was every Tuesday at the same park, and that's what we did. And it was such a lifesaver for me as a mom. I could like connect with other moms. Of course, there were other moms with little babies and moms with older kids, the whole spectrum of ages there, and tons of experience. And that was so wonderful to sit and be able to chat and compare and ask questions and just watch and get to know the kids and the moms. It was just really, really great. And we went to that play group for years, such a long time. Something that we did early on, because like I said, we didn't have any idea what homeschool really was. And you know, the little bit of research we had done was also very overwhelming. Even though we did just a little bit, there is so much information out there about homeschool. So many ways to do it. I couldn't see it, you know, like I needed to be able to see and touch and like understand this experience a little bit more. So we went to a local homeschool convention. Well, local enough. The closest one to us was Atlanta. So we went to the Atlanta Homeschool Convention. Serena was brand new baby. I think she was 2 weeks old, and we did it. We left Olivia at home with my mom, and we went ahead and just like, we wanted to see all the curriculum vendors and talk to people. And do you know what helped me the most at this time? What helped me the absolute most was just simply being there and seeing all the different people who were homeschool families. There was everyone, the whole entire spectrum that you could think of, from the very conservative, prim, proper, neat hair, full-length dress and skirts, to the dad with the long curly black hair and all the facial piercings on the kids. I mean, really, there was everyone was there. And I remember I was sitting there breastfeeding Serena at this table, just watching, and I just told Brandon, like, we can do this. Like, we can do this. Look at all these different types of people. I guess I just didn't know what homeschoolers look like. Well, guess what? They look like everybody, because anybody can homeschool. So, all right, let's move on to the next question. Oh, this is it's from Ashley. She just says she's always loved and been intrigued by my homeschooling. She said, I do believe you are the real deal. You've been an inspiration and you've been on one heck of a journey. I enjoy following you and your family. That's very sweet. Thank you, Ashley. Okay, this one talks about Jean, talks about socialization. Now, Jean also is a homeschooler. She homeschooled her son, and he's grown now. I think he's in college now. So she just mentions the socialization, and that is something that, I'm telling you, if you are a homeschooler, you know about the socialization question. What about socialization? I actually had a lady stop me. This was after Robbie was born, so we're walking around downtown. Olivia was still doing homeschool, and Serena was as well. And this lady stopped me downtown. She worked in this little boutique, and she said, how are y'all doing today? Good. And she asked the kids, you know, oh, are you out of school today? And Olivia said, no, we homeschool. And she looked at me, this woman looked at me, and she said, oh, homeschool? You homeschool your kids? Wow, you know, I really worry about homeschool kids and their socialization. And I just wanted to say, well, I said to her, you really don't need to worry about my kids and their socialization. They are very well socialized. Who even says that to somebody? You know what? I can only speak for my family. My family is out in the world. We're learning from the world. We're meeting different people, learning from their experiences and all of those things. There have been some seasons in our homeschool experience where we are so busy outside of the house, we hardly have time for our homeschool work. It's really true. I mean, I don't think anyone needs to worry about homeschool kids' socialization anyway. Here's another one from a different Jean. This is my mom, actually, but she said, I would like people to know that homeschool students in high school are invited and welcome to play sports with a local high school, at least in our state. I would also like for you to talk about Riverbank Zoo Science Program and other co-ops that introduce students to many academic interests. So yes, we live in South Carolina, and in our state, homeschool students in the grades of 7th and up are welcome and invited to participate in high school sports. So our oldest, Olivia, swam on the local swim team for the high school while she was a high school student. She really enjoyed it. At the time, she was the only homeschool kid on her team, but then the next year there was another one, and now there are several. It's really a great opportunity for the kids. And next year, Serena will be old enough to swim on the team, and she thinks she wants to, so time flies, y'all. Riverbank Zoo. So the zoo that's closest to us is in Columbia, South Carolina. They offer homeschool classes, a couple different types of homeschool classes. They have some that are in the zoo and about animals and biology and science and all of that. And there's another type, it's in the botanical garden side, and it's the Junior Master Garden program. Both are awesome. We've done them all. They're so fun, and the kids really do enjoy and look forward to going to those. Okay, so Elise also asks, what does learning time look like? A desk, corner, breakfast table, reading chair? How often would there be field trips outside of the home? There are so many different curriculums, so what are some resources, and what's what, and how to choose what's best for your family? And the big one that holds her back from doing it, if my kids argue constantly and won't listen to me, then how the heck am I supposed to be his teacher for academics? Her son is barely 3, so she realizes he will be mature at some point, but right now they just do play activities for learning. Those are really, really great questions. So I would love to give y'all a tour of my homeschool space, and I think I'm going to save that for another video because we've been working on it, and it's really working well this year, but I want to there's a few little things I need to get settled before I show y'all, but it's almost there and it's looking great. As far as curriculums go and how to choose a curriculum, that is really tough because, you know, it really just depends on your family and what you're looking for. And search on the internet for different types of homeschool curriculum and you will be blown away by how many choices there are. Every single year of homeschool for us has looked different, and sometimes we love the curriculum that we've chosen, sometimes we just don't at all. We'll drop it and try something different. You know, it just really, you just have to be flexible and like be able to see and acknowledge if something's working or not, and then you have to be flexible enough to stop what you're doing and go a different direction. So, I mean, that's really all I can say. I forgot to address how to get your child to listen to you, and, you know, how to kind of establish that teacher-student type relationship. This is all I got for you. This is the best I can say. Particularly, well, because I did start from scratch at home with Serena and now Robbie. And I can say that I waited with both of them until they were showing interest in learning anything formal. And so Serena really just wanted, she was a little bit younger in the year age-wise compared to Robbie. She was a little bit younger when she showed interest in actually learning how to read. And so we just started gently with her, very, very slow and easy, you know, just kind of made it more fun and play. And then with Robbie, we did get curriculum for him last year, like a pre-K, 4K kind of a thing at Costco, just some workbooks. And we did a few, but he really wasn't interested, and I did not force it because I just knew, like, when he's ready, he'll be ready and it's going to be fine. I don't think I would have been that way as a brand new, like, first time homeschool mom, but knowing what I know now and the experience that I have now, I'm totally fine waiting till they're ready. And he is, like, this year he's so ready. I'm so glad I didn't force it last year because this year is just, it's going so well. It's a breeze so far. Now, on the days that are a little more challenging, I will say that what we do is we go outside, and sometimes that's like we just stop doing all school for that day and we pick it back up the next day. Now, I haven't had a day like that in a long time with my kids, but I did find that's the best thing to do. Get outside, go play, go take a walk, go to the park. If you can, go to the pool or the lake, or, you know, whatever, just go sit on the front porch, have a snack, get a little something to drink, change the scenery, and then you can start fresh later or the next day. And that's what has worked for me. This next comment is from Susie. She says, great idea. It's so different than online, which does not work for a lot of kids. Be sure to cover the differences. And of course, it's definitely a commitment for the parents. What does it take to be successful? Resources available, etc. So in South Carolina, where we live, there are 3 different options for homeschool. Option 1 is pretty much K-12 online at home. And I'm not really familiar enough with option 2 to really be able to describe it very well. If you're curious about that, you can look it up. But we are option 3. That's what we've chosen for our family, and it offers the most freedoms. Option 3 requires you to be a part of an accountability group. So every year we sign up with our accountability group, and then we have to keep record of how many days we homeschool. 180 are required. You have to cover certain topics, and but how you cover those topics is totally up to you. South Carolina does not require testing, and you know, some states are very, very strict, some are not. Some have no rules at all. And you know, if homeschooling is something that you are interested in or curious about, you definitely need to look up your state's homeschool laws. I will link some resources down below. The HSLDA website is really good. It's a great resource for looking at the state laws all together, and then they have other resources on there too. And you can also join them and their organization. You pay them a fee, and then if you need them for legal services, that's what their site is mainly about, I believe. We did join them the first year of homeschool, but we haven't since. But they are, you know, it's great if you need them. K-12 is essentially public school at home. There's also another school called Connections Academy, and it's like a charter school at home. Both seem fine. I know people who do both. I know people who love both. I also know people who have hated both. So, again, it's just really up to what fits best for your family. Amanda says, yes, please do. I would love to know how to start the journey, things that you found to be the most effective, resources, cost, how do you get time for yourself and Brandon, any regrets or things you wish you had done differently. Okay, Amanda. All right, so I've kind of talked a little bit about resources. Locally, there are tons of resources, different classes and co-ops. We are actually joining a co-op this year. We have well, by the time you see this, I will have been to the open house already. Hopefully it went well. But it's a brand new co-op in the area, and it's kind of just for the extra stuff. So we'll do all of our core homeschool, basic curriculum at home. I'll be able to tell you more about that after the open house, because I don't really know. It's a brand new co-op. It's brand new to the area. Cost is totally, you could spend almost nothing, and you could also spend a fortune. It just depends on what you want, what your budget is, and what you find to be most important. This year, we have not spent a lot of money on our homeschool, but I will say there have been years where we have dropped a pretty penny, and it's been worth it. It's been wonderful, but it just depends on the year and what you've got going on, what you want to do. There is a free, it's all completely free resource online. It's called Easy Peasy All-in-One Homeschool, and I do believe she asks for donations if you want to donate to her, but she puts this whole curriculum together, and it's free online. So there have been a couple of times early on in our homeschool journey where the curriculum that we chose wasn't really as awesome as we thought it was going to be, and so while we were figuring out where to go next and what to do next, we would supplement in there with the Easy Peasy, and it worked out pretty well. Some people say it's too light, some people say it's wonderful and perfect. Again, it's just about your kid and your family and all that. How do you get time for yourself and Brandon? So that is something that also has to be flexible. We try to carve out little, time for ourselves whenever we can. Now, of course, Olivia is old enough that she could keep the little ones here with her, and also Serena and Robbie are fine to be home by themselves for a little while at a time, which is fine too. We've done that a few times, and they're totally fine. But between homeschool, family life, work schedule, it's really hard in general to find space and time for us. We usually will stay up and watch a show before we go to bed. Sometimes when he's at work, we'll talk on the phone for a while. Every once in a while, well, since school has started this year, and it's only been a couple of weeks, we have found Friday evenings to be really good for the kids to go do spend the nights places. We've got a few relatives here and they have friends. So that's worked out really nicely. I think sometimes it can just be difficult in family life in general, even if your kids aren't home all the time, to find that time to spend together. So we just do the best we can, and we're grateful for the time that we get to spend together. Any regrets or things you wish you had done differently? Sometimes I do regret that Olivia went to school at all, because how cool to just have homeschooled her all the way. But I don't really regret that, because it was a decent experience, and it also helps me appreciate the difference between homeschool and public school. So I guess that's not really a regret. It's kind of maybe a regret. Let me think if I have any other real regrets. I don't think I have any regrets. And anything that I wish I had done differently, I don't think so. I think we've been pretty good about, if we don't like something, we change it. And if we want to try something, we try to make that happen. So I don't think there's anything that I would do differently. All right, Rebecca, she says, how many hours a day do you spend? I'm just going to answer hers one at a time because there's quite a few of them. How many hours a day do you spend? Right now, currently, we spend about 4 hours homeschooling total, like sit down homeschool work at home. And that's with both of the kids. We do school at the same time. I do school at the same time with both of them. And so far it's working really, really well. How do you know you're following the rules? This is a great question because I think about it every year. So every single year as I'm planning, over the summer for the next homeschool year to start, I always go back and look at the laws in South Carolina for what is required as a homeschooler. And I write them all down, and I make sure that I have subjects and plans to cover all of the bases. Every year I do that just in case something has changed or in case I forget something, which can happen. Are there tests? Not in South Carolina, unless you want to. You can totally do a test if you want to. There are a few different resources. We've never done standardized testing here in our homeschool. Now, we have done like spelling tests and geography tests and things like that, but nothing, no standardized testing at all. Do you school year round? There have been years where we have schooled year round, but what I found was that my answer for that is still just to be flexible, because one year we schooled all year round and it was fine. We took breaks, like a longer break in the winter, a really nice spring break, a really nice summer break, but we did school year round. In some of those days off, we would still do school, but I called it light school, but we were always doing some type of school. Then one year, I noticed that one of the reasons we started that was because we started off onto summer break and the kids were bored. And I was like, let's just do school. It's too hot outside anyway. We're just going to do some school. We'll take a longer break in the fall. It worked out fine. The flexibility is wonderful. You can just do what you want to do and what fits best for your family. So, like I said, some years we have school year round. Some years it doesn't look like really year round school. But like this summer, we took a long summer break, and then we officially started back, mid-August. This was so nice. It was really nice. It was a much needed break this year. How do you pick a curriculum? And do you have to follow a curriculum? We don't have to follow any particular curriculum here in South Carolina. There are just certain subjects that you have to cover. You have to cover math, reading, science, and social studies. Yes, and so we do all those and more. I mean, we do way more than the basic. How do you do it legally? Well, I already answered that a little bit, but I just make sure I always check the laws every year to make sure nothing's changed, and we always follow the laws required in South Carolina. Another question was about the different types of curriculum and comparing and contrasting them. This even says it would take a deep dive, but pros and cons and any religious affiliations, etc. Oh, that's a deep dive. There are really good options for curriculum, whether they are religious or secular. There's tons of great curriculum choices out there. Way too many for me to even. There's so many out there. I'm sure there's some type of website that compares all of them. I don't have that information. So that's all the questions that I've got from my Facebook friends. So thank you all for commenting and responding to that post. That was back in May. It has taken me till August to wrap my head around even sitting down for this video. Homeschooling is personal and it is different for every family. And so I think part of my hesitation for sitting down for this video is that, it's like kind of opening myself up a little bit, and my experience is different from your experience and your friends' experiences and my friends' experiences. I think that homeschool can be done in good ways and then not so good ways. I've seen that too. But mostly I've seen homeschool kids just thriving out there. We love our journey of homeschool so far. I do not regret it one bit, and I hope that I'm always able to homeschool my kids. Also, I do want to say that if homeschooling is something that you have considered even just a smidge, I cannot recommend enough for you to give it a try. And it might take you a little while to kind of settle in and find your rhythm, and it might change. Like I've said a few times in this video, that might change multiple times in a year or even a semester. I have always said this about my homeschool, that not every day is easy, but every single day is good, because we are together, and I'm so grateful that we're able to do that. All right, well, I do have some other homeschool content planned. It's not quite prepared yet, but like I said, I would love to give you a tour of our homeschool area and how we kind of do our day. I would love to show you the curriculum that we've chosen for this year. It's working out really well, and I'm excited about this year so far. So are the kids. And so anyway, that's all I've got for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. I'd love to have you stick around and be a part of our YouTube family. Thank you for adding a dash of gratitude to your day. Until the next time.